There is a pool of capital that you will need to dip into, which has always been there. What we used to call, I would think we used to call them silent partners, right, who would bring in capital but not interfere too much. They were called silent partner. You must have heard it, your fathers. And so, in a sense, that has become, in a sense, I would call it glamorized. But beyond that, I don't want other venture capital folks sitting in this room. Maybe Mukesh is the only one who has been a venture capitalist, so he'll bear with me. But Pankaj used an extreme term, vulture capitalist. I'll tell you why that thought comes. And that comes not just because they are that, I think they are explicit about it. We don't understand it as entrepreneurs, and therefore the confusion starts. These are these silent partners which used to exist. That person is a VC, right? They buy shares in your company. They buy shares in your company, becomes a partner to you. It's like a marriage. Some divorces happen, but it's really like a marriage. And most of the time, no, husband and wife fights like crazy. Venture capital in a company, full fights. Mukesh will talk about it later, how fights happen with entrepreneurs. But at the end of the day, the moment you've married, you're one, right? The same way, the moment you bought shares in a company, your interest is the company. There's no other option. Because if each one fights, the company fails, and each one has shares in the company. This company succeeds, both succeed. If the company fails, both fail. So that's the beauty. It's not a collateral based investment. It's in the company. The investor has a stake in the company, while a banker does not necessarily have stake in the company. At an early stage, you need some of that stake in your company, because that's the only way you can grow the company. And the other piece is, I think, very important, and very many of these venture capitalists these days have built expertise around certain areas, banking, telecom, FMCG, most of these areas. Even in now social venture capital, there are people who have built companies in that space coming in and supporting companies who are startup early stage social enterprises, energy companies, education companies, people who built education companies working with venture capital funds. Therefore, they are not just providing capital as a banker would, they are actually helping you think through your pricing policy, your costing, your cash flow management, your hiring strategy, all that. And all that is money plus expertise plus networks. You don't need to pay for it. If you are taking a loan, you have to hire a consultant to pay for all that, and that's extra cash flow. Because a venture capitalist has put his money, he is by default forced to offer all this advice. So, yeah, so I'm going to go very, very fast. What VCs look for? Please don't give them just grandiose plans. They want to see dreams, but yet at the same time, they want to see some action on the ground. They want to see that this is executable. And I'm continuously seeing, especially in the social impact area, people who are very, very well intentioned, great commitment, large, grandiose dream, but you don't get a sense that this can be executed. Nobody will touch you, because if you can't execute it, your dream cannot be fulfilled. So you have to actually be able to show that you can execute things on the ground. And you should have a bold vision, right? You should be able to talk about a grand plan, but yet at the same time, you should have your feet on the ground. Last Saturday, Sunday, I was at ISB, and we were a part of a jury which was doing a business plan competition. There was an amazing inventor who came, who talked about a very interesting product, which is a banana yarn making machine. It was such a brilliant product that nobody could resist supporting him. But he never won the competition. He never won the competition because he was a solo player. He was an inventor, an amazing person. But a technical person, an R&D person, an inventor cannot build a company. So that is why that second piece there, which is this completeness of a team, is important. I think the point is, when you go and raise money, if you said you are the guy who will do it all, people will smile, laugh, and then they'll get cynical. I think if you should be open to sourcing the team, you might not pay people at that stage, you might actually give them a share of your company. That's another point. People don't like to part with their equity. Throw up your company, 100% of your company, give it out to 3-4 people who you trust. 10-15%, right? Build up your co-founders. You would have created a better company that will attract greater investments. If you hold it on all together, it's not going to happen. So, complete team, competent team, little bit experience. Now, in this point, people might have asked me continuously, youngsters and students of India who have no working experience, can they raise capital? The point that I want to make is I can give you n number of examples, but what matters is not your age. What matters is the power of the idea and your openness to attract people who are older and more competent than you. And I have seen n number of examples. You should visit a company called Digital Green, set up by was a naval engineer or something called Rikin Gandhi. Rikin, if you see him, he's like a kid. But Rikin has hired a team which is far more competent, maybe people who are as old as his father and mother, and now runs a company. The point that I am trying to make is you really need to have experienced people who have seen success and failure of building a company, but they might not have built the idea. So, differentiate between building the organization and building the idea. The spark of the idea, nurturing that idea would have come from a very energetic person, but that does not mean that they are capable enough to build the organization. And please differentiate that. Do not think you can build companies necessarily. You might be able to, but that is not always the case, right? In our experience, we have seen roughly this takes anywhere between 15 to 18 weeks, if not more. Right? There are different stages of these interactions that you have to do with a venture capital. I have seen entrepreneurs pushing venture capitalists, writing emails to them saying, come on, please support me, please support me. But you should know that after, if they've done a call with you, you'd be lucky. If they do a call with you and if they don't engage with you, that means that is very bad sign, right? And don't keep pushing them because it doesn't work. That is good signal for you to go back to your drawing board and go look back at your enterprise, your business model. There's something wrong somewhere. Or maybe it's bad timing when you've pitched, but go back to your drawing board. But the point that I want to make is, it's a very selective process. Hundreds go through it, only 1 or 2 make it. So it's not necessary, unless yours is really differentiated from others, it might not just make. So keep that always in mind. And this is the stages that are basically involved. It's a very long, tiring process. So one of the things that we tell our entrepreneurs who come to us is, don't see it as a very tiring process. See it as a learning filled process. If you do due diligence with us, we've seen entrepreneurs going back saying, the kind of questions you asked me, nobody's asked me in the past. And that is the learning experience that you should go through. Don't see it as they've not invested in me, therefore I'm sad. See it as a learning filled process, because I am dead sure that your daughter, your son, your father would not have asked you some of these questions because they like you, right? They really care for you, so they won't ask you these hard questions. But when somebody who cares for the company's money asks you questions which is larger beyond you, and therefore those questions are valuable, which actually helps you go back to the drawing table most of the time. And therefore encourage investors to ask questions. And even before you go to investors, please therefore get all your critics in a room and make sure that they have asked you all the questions, because these very questions you're going to get from investors. Yeah. So I'm not getting into the details of these, but these are things that will be part of diligence. Yeah. The other thing I spoke about this. So if you have a small company and you are the founder and 100% of the shares is held by you, that's a large portion. But what does it mean in a small company where you hold 100%? That's nothing. But what you should do is you should grow the company and make it large, and your share will grow significantly. And to make that happen, it will only grow if you attract the right investors, the right team, and so on and so forth. So this actually is just trying to say that over years, your control in the company has come down, which will, because you are raising more capital, but you are part of a larger pie. So if you are valued at 1 crore and you are all 100% of the company, that's just 1 crore. But if you became a 100 crore company because you've done well and you hold only 10% of the company, your 1 crore is actually 10 crores. Therefore, entrepreneurs, please give up some of your equity. This is not to say that give up without any sense, but give it up to potential team members, give it to potential advisors, but choose the right people. Choose the right mentors, give them equity, get people buying into your company's vision and aligning it to your equity so that they have a stake in your success and your growth and the company's growth. Yeah? One last point, whoever goes to a venture capital has to answer one question. Can he take his money out? So if it's a banker never wants his money back. He doesn't want you to close the loan. But an investor has taken money from, a venture capitalist has taken money from somewhere, invested in you and has told them that he will give that back after 10 years at X% return. So obviously he has to get the money out of you. So he'll force you to grow. Go to him when you are ready to grow. If you're not ready to grow, you won't get your monies back. He won't get your monies back. So if you go early, you'll feel that unnecessary pressure because him pushing you to grow. And these are all natural things. It's just because entrepreneurs don't know. So go to an investor, a venture capitalist, only when you're ready to grow. You'll still make mistakes, that's fine. They're okay with that. But you can't make mistakes in such a way that your 2-year plan gets extended by 10 years. Right? So the point that I'm trying to make is help him exit, which means that you'll have to grow to such an extent that his shares can be sold to somebody else, the next round larger investor comes and things like that, right? So you have to help him exit. Don't see it as his job. You as the CEO, you as the promoter, is your job to somehow find out an exit because he's invested in you with the assurance that an exit will happen.